On July 9, 1999, a 34-year-old woman finished her workday and began what should have been a normal evening with her daughter and fiancé. She never arrived. Her car was later found parked and undisturbed, her phone left behind, and she was gone without explanation. For more than 2 decades, her disappearance remained unsolved, leaving behind only suspicion, unanswered questions, and a family waiting for the truth. Kimberly Langwell was born on December 24, 1965, in Houston, Texas. She grew up there with her parents and sister, surrounded by friends and extended family. From an early age, she was described as determined and independent, traits that shaped the way she approached responsibility and hardship throughout her life. Those characteristics became more evident as she moved into adulthood and faced challenges largely on her own. At the age of 18, Kimberly gave birth to her daughter, Tiffany. Shortly after Tiffany was born, her father left, leaving Kimberly to raise her child alone. Becoming a single parent so young placed immediate pressure on her, forcing her to mature quickly and make decisions centered on providing stability and security. Every major choice she made afterward reflected her focus on creating a dependable life for her daughter. Seeking a fresh start, Kimberly eventually moved to Beaumont, Texas. The transition was not easy. After relocating, she struggled financially and often worked multiple jobs at the same time, sometimes juggling as many as 3 positions just to cover basic expenses. Long hours and constant responsibility defined this period of her life, but she remained committed to supporting Tiffany and maintaining a sense of normalcy at home. Over time, Kimberly's persistence led to improvement. She secured a stable position at a local oil refinery, a job that provided steady income and more predictable hours. This change allowed her to spend more time with her daughter and regain balance. While working there, she met Ken, a coworker with whom she developed a relationship. Their relationship progressed into an engagement, and Kimberly appeared hopeful, focused on planning a future built on stability, routine, and shared plans moving forward. She continued prioritizing work, family, and long-term security, believing consistent effort would finally provide lasting peace. On July 9, 1999, Kimberly Langwell was scheduled to finish her shift at work at approximately 5 p.m. That evening, she planned to have dinner with her fiancé, Ken, and her 15-year-old daughter, Tiffany. After leaving work, Kimberly intended to go home briefly before heading to the restaurant, expecting to arrive shortly after 5:15 p.m. Earlier that afternoon, Kimberly called Tiffany to explain the plans for the evening. During the call, she mentioned that she had several errands to take care of after work and might arrive later than expected. This phone call would become the last confirmed communication anyone had with her. At around 6:30 p.m., Ken arrived at Kimberly's house. She was not there. He and Tiffany attempted to call her repeatedly, but she did not answer. This silence was unusual, as Kimberly was known for staying in contact and informing her family if plans changed. As the evening continued with no word from her, concern steadily grew. By approximately 10 p.m., Ken decided to search for her himself. He drove along the route Kimberly normally took from work to home, stopping at nearby stores and locations she might have visited. Despite checking multiple places, he found no sign of her. Eventually, Ken discovered Kimberly Langwell's car parked outside a pharmacy. The vehicle appeared undisturbed, but Kimberly was nowhere to be found. He searched the surrounding area, but found nothing. Believing she might return, he went home. The next morning, he returned to the parking lot and saw the car still there. Realizing she had not come home or contacted anyone overnight, Ken contacted the police. By then, it was clear something was seriously wrong, and the unanswered hours marked a shift from uncertainty to urgent concern. After Kimberly was reported missing, police immediately examined her car. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, and no visible damage. However, officers found Kimberly's cell phone left inside, raising concern and suggesting she had not intended to disappear. Investigators then spoke with Kimberly's 15-year-old daughter, Tiffany, the last person to speak with her. Tiffany explained that after work, her mother planned to stop at the home of her former boyfriend, Terry Rose, who had asked her to help with a repair project by holding shelves while he mounted them. Tiffany also said she later called Terry the night her mother disappeared. When questioned, Terry told both Tiffany and police that Kimberly had only stopped by briefly and left after a few minutes. He denied knowing what happened to her afterward. Investigators noted his account and began comparing it with other information. Police also interviewed Kimberly's friends and family to better understand her relationships, routines, and concerns before she went missing. Despite these efforts, no witnesses could place Kimberly anywhere after she left work. With no clear timeline beyond her final phone call and no forensic leads from the car, investigators faced growing uncertainty, marking the beginning of a case that would remain unresolved for years. Forensic experts also examined Kimberly's car, which had been found parked outside a pharmacy. No useful evidence was recovered, and the vehicle showed no signs of a struggle. Witness statements raised additional concerns. One employee reported seeing Kimberly's car at Terry's property later than Terry claimed. Other witnesses reported seeing Terry's tow truck near the parking lot where Kimberly's car was found. Investigators still lacked solid evidence. As a result, authorities were unable to move forward with charges, and the investigation stalled. Despite unanswered questions, conflicting accounts, and continued scrutiny, the absence of forensic proof or direct witnesses meant the case remained open but inactive, leaving Kimberly's disappearance officially unresolved and deeply frustrating for her family and investigators alike at that time, with no immediate legal resolution available. As the investigation continued without progress, detectives began examining concerns Kimberly Langwell had shared about her workplace. Friends told police that not long after Kimberly started working at the oil refinery, her supervisor, Frank, began giving her unwanted attention. He openly flirted with her despite being married, behavior that made Kimberly uncomfortable and uneasy. Over time, Frank's actions escalated. He began writing Kimberly love letters in which he attempted to persuade her to start a romantic relationship with him. In total, he sent more than 100 letters. Kimberly feared that rejecting him could put her job at risk, and this fear weighed heavily on her. To protect herself, she gave the letters to close friends and asked them to keep them in case something happened to her. Kimberly also told friends that Frank would slowly drive past her house several times a day. At times, he would park across the street and watch her home. These actions increased her anxiety and added to her sense that the situation was becoming dangerous. What made the behavior even more troubling was the fact that Kimberly's fiancé, Ken, also worked at the same company. Yet Frank appeared undeterred. Investigators reviewed the letters and concluded that Frank's behavior showed signs of obsession. When questioned, Frank denied having strong feelings for Kimberly and described his interest as a brief crush. He also denied writing the letters, even though police had them in their possession. Frank provided an alibi, including a store receipt and statements from friends, confirming he hosted a poker game later that evening. However, there remained a window of time before his alibi began. Despite this gap, investigators could not find evidence linking him to Kimberly's disappearance. As a result, police shifted focus, unable to advance the case based on suspicion alone. For years after Kimberly Langwell disappeared, the investigation produced no meaningful progress. Police reviewed phone records, searched possible locations, and followed up on tips, but none led to concrete answers. Volunteers assisted in search efforts, and authorities made public appeals asking anyone with information to come forward. Despite these efforts, no new evidence surfaced to explain what had happened to her. During this time, Kimberly's family remained convinced that Terry Rose was responsible. Their suspicions were fueled by his behavior following her disappearance. Family members recalled that when they confronted him, Terry appeared indifferent and at times openly mocking, showing little concern for Kimberly's fate. His lack of emotion stood out and deepened their belief that he knew more than he admitted. Over the years, the family reported receiving silent phone calls in which no one spoke on the other end. They believed Terry was behind the calls, though police were unable to prove it. Terry also contacted the family at times, asking if they had heard from Kimberly, as if she had simply chosen to leave rather than vanish. These interactions added to the family's distress. Another disturbing incident occurred several years later when Terry approached Kimberly's daughter, Tiffany, and asked whether she had heard from her mother. When Kimberly's sister intervened, Terry made a comment about failing a polygraph test, specifically referencing a question about killing Kimberly. The family immediately reported this to police. Although the case was reopened years later and reviewed from the beginning, investigators still found no physical evidence. Eventually, Terry stopped cooperating entirely. With no new leads, the case stalled once again, remaining unresolved for decades, while Kimberly's family continued waiting for answers and justice without closure, hope fading as time passed slowly and painfully for everyone involved there, still today, sadly, alone forever. In early 2024, renewed attention brought Kimberly Langwell's case back into focus when the Oxygen Network's Cold Justice documentary team began investigating her disappearance. The team interviewed Kimberly's friends and family, reviewing long-standing suspicions and inconsistencies that had surrounded the case for decades. They then turned their attention to the two primary suspects, Frank and Terry Rose. Frank agreed to speak with the documentary team. Even after 25 years, his behavior appeared unusual. He continued to deny writing love letters to Kimberly or pursuing her romantically, maintaining that he had nothing to do with her disappearance. His statements mirrored what he had previously told police, offering no new clarity. Terry Rose, however, refused to cooperate. When the crew arrived at his home to speak with him, he was seen through a window and immediately ran out the back door, attempting to leave in his vehicle. The crew blocked his path, forcing him to stop and answer questions. Terry claimed he had not been trying to escape and insisted he had no reason to harm Kimberly. During this confrontation, Terry contradicted his earlier statements. He no longer said Kimberly came to help mount shelves, instead claiming she had only come to collect her remaining belongings. This inconsistency prompted authorities to reopen the case. After the documentary aired, a witness came forward stating Terry had confessed to killing his ex-girlfriend and burying her on his property. Police obtained a warrant and searched his home using ground-penetrating radar. Beneath the concrete floor of Terry's bedroom, investigators found human remains. Forensic testing confirmed they belonged to Kimberly. Terry was arrested and charged with murder. He remains in custody awaiting trial, while Kimberly's family finally gained answers after decades of uncertainty following years of unanswered questions and prolonged investigative silence overall.